This you can blow up by that square. This you can icon. You don't need, unless you need a web page again, but you can bring it back up if you don't. I'm gonna go, now I'm gonna go to the bathroom.
What?
I have to go to the bathroom.
You've just been recorded. You know you've just been recorded.
Okay, you're on. I'm gonna turn the fan on to cool you.
Don't.
You're hot?
I don't want the fan on.
Okay.
Thank you. Those of you who just came on board, you may have heard recording in process. This is a new thing for us. We, to my knowledge, have not recorded meetings of the Woodside Highlands Road Maintenance District Resident Advisory Committee, but as a town committee, I think there may be a new requirement, which is, we were alluding to that earlier, that there are some new operating requirements that we have, and one I presume then is that we need to record this meeting. So for those of you who have not attended in the past, or this is new, or actually it's new for all of us, know that we're being recorded. It's for good, for bad, and everything in between. So it's going to keep us all in agreement as to what was said, because we will have a record as well as the minutes that we will continue to produce. With that in mind, I'd like to call the meeting to order of the Woodside Highlands Road Maintenance District Resident Advisory Committee, and we'll take a roll call. Matt King.
Here.
Frank Crow.
I'm here.
Mike Grant is absent. Jean Isaacson, I don't see her. Tim McDonald.
Yes, ma'am.
And George is excused. He is in Germany. And here's Gary. Hi.
The recording's
Hey,
on.
Gary.
Recording is on.
Teresa, I just talked to Jean. She'll be on shortly.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Somebody's listed as guest. Do we know who that is?
I'm sorry?
Somebody is listed as guest. Do we know who that is?
Yes. I don't know who guest is. Perhaps someone might be willing to tell us who they are, and maybe they won't. Okay, so roll call is done. I'd like to ask that someone volunteer to be the secretary for the meeting.
If you remember, we decided to do a round robin, and in fact, the minutes of the last meeting specify that, and they say that I'm the secretary this time.
That is true. I wasn't sure you were going to remember, and I was going to give you a pass if someone else wanted to step forward.
Well, I'll take the pass.
No, you fessed up. So thank you, Frank. Thank you for
I'm all
taking
set.
the minutes. Okay. The next item on the agenda is oral communications for items not on the agenda, and I'd like to give a little bit of an explanation here. This is Brown Act requirements that things that are not formally on our agenda are items that can't be discussed. They can be brought up as information, but there's no in-depth conversation about them. I was trying to get the conversation amongst us for the new emergency evacuation provisions that the town recently publicized. They had it on their weekly update, and it was July 28th that we received it. And my understanding is that comments are due back to the town on August 10th. And I did request that that item be put on our agenda, but apparently it wasn't in time to get it as an official item on the agenda. So for those of you who are specifically here to talk about that item, I'm afraid, unfortunately, we can't have a great discourse about it. But I would certainly say that if you want to raise particular issues about it, or if you'd like to write your comments down, what I would propose that we do is have 2 members of our group be the leader positions for developing a response back to the town. So are there any questions about that?
Would it be 2 people within the RAC board here, or the RAC committee, or is it just 2 people from the Highlands, I think, that we're looking for?
My recommendation would be that anybody could join that task force, but that it would be 2 people from the RAC.
Yeah.
In kind of a leadership position where the response back would be coming from the RAC.
Okay. So I'll volunteer to be part of that. Reed, I know you have some background in this area. Is this something that maybe you could help with?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. I mean, you live a couple of houses down from me. Maybe we can meet up later this week.
Is there anybody from the RAC who would particularly want to be part of the work group? Matt, if no one steps forward, I'll work with you.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we just want to be able to make sure we can get something back to them in time. So let's see if we can get somebody, we can get enough people, I think, to get enough of a perspective together.
Well, I think we want input from our group, from our residents. And so any way we can get it, I think we can certainly send out notes and have people respond back to, maybe you'll take the front runner position and have them respond back to you, and then we can craft some type of conversation from that.
Am I allowed to just pester people in the neighborhood to get them to give me a feedback and so forth? Say, hey, have you seen this? Can you give me your feedback and so forth? There's no. Okay, Craig's not as.
I'm seeing Craig nodding his
Pester your
head.
neighbors anytime you want, Matt. No.
All right.
Yeah.
You can do
Any
yeah,
subject you choose. Yeah.
Matt, happy to chat about it. I'll be traveling, but we can chat via phone or whatever.
Okay, that works.
Great, thank you. And I do know that there were some people specifically interested in this topic who had contacted me and asked me when we were going to be discussing it, and I suggested that it would probably be at the end of the meeting. So if we see Liz Babb, or I think Anna, Alana, you also had some comments about the emergency provisions. Is that right? Hello, are you there?
I'm here.
Yes. Is that? I thought that was one of the areas that you had some interest in commenting back.
There is that, as well as the first agenda item of the new business.
Yes, we'll get to
yes,
that.
yes, for sure. I have a lot of, I do.
Yeah, okay. I just didn't want to misrepresent you, but I thought you had indicated you were interested in having a few comments on that.
I'd be interested in that as well.
Okay, great. Okay, so I apologize for that, but we will get our input in through other ways. Okay, is there any other oral communication on items that are not currently on the agenda? Anybody want to bring anything up we don't know about? Okay. Approval of our minutes of our June 7th meeting. They've been distributed. Everybody's gotten a copy. Does anybody have any revisions or recommended changes to the minutes?
Not for me.
Seem good.
Okay, do I hear a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
Also move.
I'll
Second,
second.
all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great, thank you very much. Thank you to Jean for making these great minutes. It was a complicated meeting, I remember. Okay, new business. We did assign a secretary. Thank you, Frank. Waj, you're here. Road driving issues, including speed and staying in the lane. We've talked about this. This is a longstanding problem that we have in Woodside Highlands. There are lots of delivery drivers, there are lots of guests, there are lots of people who are busy. Speed has become a real problem. We had a flurry of emails back and forth about people not staying on the side of the road properly. We've had, all sorts of near misses. We had one person go into the fire plug right on Santa Maria and ruin the undercarriage of his car. So we have issues, and we have residents who are very concerned, rightfully. We have small kids, we have dogs, we have hikers, we have narrow roads. So part of the thing that we've done in the past, which this is not new, so we've put up speed signs, we've put up caution signs, we have lots more notice that there's a winding road. We have mirrors that are up. Frank has recently put bots at the bottom of the hill. And he also restriped the upper portion of Russell to Tynan.
That's Frank and Kim, actually.
No, in the hopes that some of this will help. We're looking for other ideas and suggestions as far as what we can do to encourage people to keep their speed down, stay on the right side of the road, and drive like an old lady.
Can I just add
Where-
one little
Yep.
thing?
Yeah.
More recently, I will say 3 neighbors in particular have told me they're even afraid to go out and walk on the road. Specific incidents where someone's coming up the road, let's say, on their side of the yellow line, feeling like they're doing the right thing, but a walker going down the hill is hugging the side of the road. What are you going to do? Well, you don't yell at each other. So I think there's just gotten to be really nasty. It's a lot about to do with attitude. There's no excuse for it. But when you can't even feel free to walk on your road, even when you're staying on the side of the road, it's gotten pretty bad. So I think we really need to do something. I don't know. If somebody complains that they've been told to stay on their side of the road, so it's not their fault if they have to hit a pedestrian who's in the way. How about slowing down and talking about it and figuring out who's going to pass whom and who's going to say, okay, you go ahead now. It's just gotten darn right nasty, and that's got to stop. If you don't, if you feel that way about your neighborhood, that you can't even take a walk and have a nice time and wave and say hi to people, it's pretty sad. So
Let me remind people once again, if you're going to be out walking the road, wear bright clothing and be obvious, because a lot of these things happen because people just don't see you. I'm walking all over the road all the time, never have any problem because I'm always out where people can see me, and I try to wear bright clothing when I can.
yeah.
I've learned to walk right down the middle of the road.
So do
And
I.
then the car and me see each other, and then we each get our space. Because I, for a long time, did walk toward the side of the road, and I found out it's not nearly as safe.
Has anybody had any impression of the bots? I mean, that was an experiment.
Yeah, that's
I
on
heard-
the agenda later, actually, Teresa.
I'm sorry, what?
That's on the agenda later.
That's correct. Okay.
I like them. I'll just say that. That's my 2 cents.
Okay. Waj, I know this was a big issue for you, and you've had some time to think about possibly some things that would help along your way. To refresh people's memory, you live right on the kind of the corner of Tynan and Russell, where people don't always take that turn quite so appropriately. They tend to cut off the curve and go right in the middle of the road. I've seen people do it. I've seen people, gun their engine as they're going up the steep part of Russell. If you remember, Russell used to be one way going down. I don't know if having it go up is now more of an issue with speed. I don't live there, so I'm not there every day to see it. But Watch, why don't you talk to us about what you're experiencing?
Hey, thanks. Thank you for letting me talk. And I guess, yeah, that's the curve by the, I mean, I'm concerned for everyone, not just for myself. But I'm the one who sent the email about the curve by Tynan and Russell after I was very nearly hit there in my car, thank God. Yeah, I've always wondered since I moved here why it's only the first tight curve on the way up Santa Maria that has a mirror. I mean, I've just sort of always wondered that, but I've wondered it sort of to myself. And I'm thinking that if it's possible that putting a mirror on that curve by Russell and Tynan would be really great. I know that that doesn't affect most people who live here, so it would just be something done for a subset of us. I've sort of looked at the curve and I'm not sure it's possible to place a mirror so that both directions can see. I think it's most important for the people coming downhill to see if there's a car, if a decision needs to be made about where to place the mirror, if it can't be useful for cars going both up and down. I think it's more important for the people coming down to be able to see if there's a car coming up before they have to cut across. Anyway, oh, and I'm the one who put the sign. I made a homemade sign and put it on that curve. And I know from the email thread that it seems to have caused some problems. And so I'm sorry. It wasn't my intention. Yeah.
I thought it was very clever. Great sign
Thank you.
as a walker. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, I think Wood's
I
right.
took
I mean, I was gonna say because her and I live next to each other, right? So we see the same corner, and it's people coming down the hill. I think they come in front of my house, and then they make kind of a left in front of your place, like in front of your driveway, to where that big bend is that goes up Tynan. Like that's where I see people just flying by. It just seems like people are just running down that street pretty quick. There's a couple people I'm like really close to having a conversation with, but what I've been struggling with as well is how do you curtail it in some sort of way? And putting mirrors up helps people see each other. I think that's great, but I don't know if it's necessarily going to slow people down. That's the other thing I'm trying to figure out.
I think the thing, Matt, I totally see the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think a collision there will happen if a car does exactly what you said, and an upcoming car is on the wrong side of the road.
Mm-hmm.
This is probably totally inappropriate to say, but if both cars are doing it, I'm like less concerned if they crash into each other. I realize that's horrible to say. But I mean, for me, I stop there. I look both ways and then I like very fast accelerate sort of straight and then hug the curb just so I can get across the road in case a car is coming up.
Yeah.
So I think those of us who actually care about being safe probably are the ones who stop there. I don't know, Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I think most people are just trying to fly by, and there's a few of us that live around it that pay a little more attention. My own personal observations, it seems like everybody cuts that corner. I think the sign was a great idea. I still like the sign, but I think everybody just still kind of cuts the corner because it's a little bit of a shortcut as they're heading up the hill past the front of my house.
One maybe last thing I will say is like, I've noticed that there are more street signs that have been put up. I mean, I drive like a grandma and people tailgate me all the time. And I look down and I'm like, this is really what 15 miles an hour is. And only one time did I get so angry that I literally started driving 3 miles an hour. So I apologize to whoever that person was. But even with those signs, I feel like the street signs, it's like, you kind of don't see them, right? Like you don't notice them. I sort of felt like, oh, everybody noticed that homemade sign that I made. And I was like, can I just make tons of homemade signs and like put them everywhere? Because then I think they're noticeable, which obviously I can't do it, but it's just, I think that sign was more noticeable because it wasn't just a standard roadside. And I'm sorry, I've taken up a lot of time, so I'm done.
This is an important, topic. So I need to hear from the residents that are on Russell, whether your impression is that things have changed because of the change in two-way direction. Russell used to be a one-way street going down.
I would be strongly opposed to changing. I mean, I wasn't here before, but I certainly have never had a problem on Russell.
You're
and
you're below the area that I'm talking
Yeah.
about, Reed.
I know, but it would affect everybody, right? Like if you changed it to one
It would
way.
affect the residents on Upper Russell who live where the cement portion of Russell is. That,
Oh, okay. It wouldn't be one way by me.
no, that
Okay,
was
got
always
it.
2 ways. But there was it wasn't recent. It was 5 years ago, 6 years ago, something around there that we had a vote and it was decided to change Russell to one way. I don't know if that's a factor. I don't know if that's in contributing to some of the speed or
Okay,
whether it's a non-issue.
now that I understand, I take back my objection.
No,
Teresa, it was only it was two-way all the way to Tynan, right? And
Correct.
then, in fact, all the way to the bottom of the steep part, or did it become one way below Reed's, where the mailboxes are?
No, it was only one way as you go up past Matt's house and you go up.
It was really steep, right? And
It was
narrow.
very steep and we were afraid, well, it was always one way and again, it was changed to 2 ways. It's now 2 ways. And I don't know if that's part of some of the speed problem or whether it's totally immaterial. It was just a question.
Well, on the maps, I mean, a lot of drivers use maps and it's a two-way street, not legally. And that's what everybody sees who's using navigation to get to it. I mean, the fact that we decided to call it one way was just something we did with a couple of signs, but unless it's changed recently, I think one of the problems is people are being told to go that way who are using navigation.
Yeah, I don't think, and I also don't think that it's made any difference either. I mean, most people seem to speed when they're going down the hill.
It's the curve. Yeah, it's the hairpin turns where they cut the corners.
I mean, it was a lot of downhill always anyway. So it's like they're just coming down the hill a little faster than they round around that corner. And then they kind of accelerate in front of my house. It's really just a couple people, but they accelerate in front of my house and then they round the corner in front of Woods' driveway.
Mhm.
And then they head towards Smoot's place. I mean, you've seen Smoot's been pretty vocal about this as well.
Yeah.
With some of the emails he's been posting. Part of me is thinking like, is this just going to be something we either have to deal with through awareness up here, and then we have to have a push on, how do we get people more aware of the speeding that's going on up here, outside of this conversation.
So I'm not a big lover of public shaming, but I do think that having pictures of people's cars clearly on the wrong side of the street and public shaming is sometimes works. I mean, I don't think that's a great way to proceed, but
No, but I think like an awareness campaign, like I was saying, something that we can start to communicate more up here to say, this is what we're seeing. We've been hearing concerns about it within this meeting, obviously, and part of the action we're taking is to drive more awareness up here.
So there's a contingent that's probably not represented here who doesn't really think this is a problem at all. I'll just say it. Like a lot of people don't think this is a problem. And so I don't, public shaming only works if people are ashamed.
Well, let me raise one point, and that is that Matt, from what Matt says and from what I've seen, that road is nice and steep and very narrow, so it's intimidating enough so that you don't go down there quickly unless you're very used to it. So our problem people are all right here on the hillside, and so that's just something we ought to be able to take care of internally to the neighborhood.
I think we need to have a party.
But we do have one planned for September 11th, so that's
Right,
in
yeah.
the works. So
Good time, grab people with a collar and have a conversation with them.
Teresa, may I say something, please?
Sure.
I walk the street quite a lot, pretty much every day, going up on all of my little walks around the neighborhood. Public shaming, I don't think is necessarily good. In my 25 years being here, I've definitely noticed that there is being a attitude change on the Hill. It's been more from me, rather than us. Getting around that, as an architect, I've dealt with signage a great deal. No one, and I do agree that ADA is the bane of my existence, but I've had, no one notices signs. You see them originally and then you forget them. It becomes blind. People have, people are doing things. No one's at fault. It's all human nature. And people are doing what they're doing. In their life, they're hurried, they're rushed. There's been an attitude change here on the Hill, in Patola Valley, and elsewhere. And we need to kind of adjust to that. Maybe there is a need, the dots, I noticed them after they were up for a little bit and just like, okay, those are really cool. But there's more. I've actually tried to go up the hill to 107 at 15 miles an hour, and it is painful.
No, it's not. Sorry.
on the car you have.
Yeah. And maybe not for you. I have to go a little further, Jane. I think there's a need to look at other ways of slowing people down, or the community to go back to what it was when I came here and I met Michael 25 years ago. And I don't know if that is even possible, but there's either striping on the road, zigzags. I know doing speed bumps is not great and not desired, but maybe doing other painting, just saying, go on. I have stopped doing my walks going up to hayfields. Occasionally, we put in a little stairwell so I can go up Wayside, which is, I hate to even say this, more safe for me to get up to, the Lane Trail and all of that kind of stuff. Anyway, that's just my quick little whatever piece. I don't have a solution.
I think that's very cool. The idea of, I was thinking as a temporary solution, perhaps using some orange cones. I know, we're on the corner of Russell and Santa Maria, and I often worry when we're, doing something in the garden or, right on the edge to put some flowers in or just out there, if someone's going to whip around the corner. We haven't put any orange cones out, but I thought, oh, there's an orange cone. But that would be a temporary thing. And to your point, people see things and then they forget. But I really like the homemade sign. I thought that was great. I wasn't driving by it, I've been walking by it, but every time I see it, I nod and I think, yeah, that great sign. But I like your idea is like, imagine if there was some like art or something like that, something that was cool that would make them slow down and see it. But I like that. I like your idea.
Is it possible that there's less than 10 drivers or less than 20 drivers on the whole hill that cause all the problems? Is that, if so, then the cost-effective way of dealing with it is driver by driver?
Yeah, I bet it's just a super minority, right? Oh, maybe Alana was about to say something. Oh, Alana, I think you're muted.
Alana,
Oh,
you're
I'm
muted.
sorry. I'd like to chime in. I've recently been doing some gardening out front, and I've had an opportunity on a daily basis to watch traffic go by. And sometimes, I mean, yesterday I was out for 2 hours because I was, I was doing quite a bit. And I guess the last few speakers, there was Michael and then Annalise. Annalise, I would say the overwhelming majority. I mean, there's quite a few dangerous they're just blowing up Santa Maria on the straightaway though, near where I live. I live on Lower Santa Maria for everyone who is on this call, where it is straight. There are mirrors at the intersection where the lower part of Leroy intersects with Santa Maria. And that's just for those who are kind of trying to egress through this area and then continue down from Leroy down Santa Maria, just so that they make a safe turn. But for those who are traveling along the straightaway, people are driving easily, 2x the speed limit. They're easily at 30 miles an hour or more, the overwhelming majority. And then of those drivers, many of them are just crossing kind of the yellow line as they turn higher up Santa Maria. I don't know that I've even seen one slow as well as on the right side of the road in this, kind of recent times. And so I think, Michael, you were speaking of just kind of looking for architectural ways. I like that idea. I know that around Stanford, especially by the golf course along, I guess, is it Junipero Serra, they've actually had some very extreme traffic measures put in place where it was kind of, one lane each way going fairly, in a fairly fast clip. They've put traffic abatement measures there. And those are hardscaped in, which led me to wonder if an objective means such as a traffic bump, we all cross this, you would wreck your car if you're driving 30, 40 miles an hour, you would ruin the undercarriage of your car, but it would protect the residents and the people trying to just enjoy the space. And I know that we'd all be affected by it. There is no public shaming. You would just know to drive to be safe. That was just what I finally came to. When it comes to public shaming, it just leaves kind of a bitter taste in the community, and you get messages, as we've seen on the listserv. There's kind of some acrimonious statements. It's hard to come together around that.
I keep thinking that song, All You Need Is Love. I mean, maybe the thing is when someone really has a hard time when they're driving, I don't want to, Teresa, I don't want to nominate you, but someone calls them up and say, hey, are you okay? We heard that you were driving really fast.
I love it.
I mean, seriously, because people might be going, oh my gosh, yeah, I didn't know people noticed and I must have been stressed, or, it's a start. If it is a small number, to Annalise's point, I mean, if it's a small number and we know who they are and we have people reporting saying, hey, I just saw so-and-so tearing down the hill, it'd be nice to reach out. At least you'd feel the love. I mean, you'd feel like people cared about you, and yeah, you might slow down.
Matt knows 2 people.
Pardon? You noticed 2 people?
No, Matt told us he knows 2 people.
Oh yeah,
But
so Matt, you
the
could
social
reach out
problem
and give
is
them some love.
The social problem is people are afraid to go up to people who are speeders. There's no, there's, that's why they get to keep speeding.
Sorry, it may not work in every case, but in some it might. I mean, I remember I was being in a grocery store with someone and he was complaining how rude everyone was. And I said, I honestly don't think they notice. I don't think they're mean people. I just don't think they notice. Mm-hmm. And we are in a high pressured area in Silicon Valley. It does vibrate at a high frequency.
Okay, I'll pop up why I created the name and shame, why I created the bad driver page. Because I've spent so much time in these meetings listening to people try and control other people's behavior, but not identify the actual people. So I will make a blanket statement to everyone. You can send me, if from your dash cam, you're already in your car and they're actually coming at you and it's provable. You have someone who is doing something wrong, send it to me. And you can tell me what to do with that photo, whether it should be posted or whether it should be funneled to you guys. So
I'll volunteer if people want. I mean, I'm not on the committee, so I don't know how that goes, but if I was given the name and number of people, I would volunteer to call them and say, hey, are you okay? We heard that you're driving fast. It's worth a try. If that's considered public domain, not, you know, for the person.
I think I'd say, you know, I'm all for community action, but I think at the same time, like, this can't be something the committee would endorse in any kind of way.
So some of the things that we've heard are better communication with our neighbors, a shift in attitude to go back to the days of yore. I'm not sure that that's something that we can do. Developing a list and contacting people individually if we know that they're fast drivers. Putting a mirror up along the curve, either on the upside or the downside. I'm not sure what engineering wise would make sense for the corner by Tynan and Russell. And possibly some bots along that area. I also heard of speed bump. I think these are things that we've tried some of these things in different places. We have communicated. We can continue to communicate. We've put up more speed signs indicating what the correct speed limit is. I don't hear a real consensus. I hear a lack of what do we do next? And to be honest, I'm not exactly sure what to do next other than to continue to talk about it and to encourage people when they see someone who's clearly doing something wrong to let them know. And I know when I'm on the road, when someone's going too fast, I yell at them. I mean, it may not be the nicest thing in the world, but I do. I mean, I'm standing there in the middle of the road and they're going to run me over.
Yeah.
I tell them to slow down. You know, it's just, it behooves all of us to be perhaps a little bit more proactive to help everybody stay safe.
And
So is there anything else that people want to say about this topic at the moment? I don't hear anybody saying, I want to put a mirror up over there, I want to put a sign over there, or I mean, I don't hear anything right now, but I do hear perhaps some additional communication. Jean?
Well, we did hear Woj say certainly there's something is needed up there. I mean, that's a crazy curve there. But with regard to the idea that it feels like the neighborhood's changed and it's not, you know, I've only been here 50 years, but I would have to agree that the fact that people are also busy, and I'm so important that I'm so busy that it's okay for me to race down the hill and endanger other people. I'll never agree to that. It's not okay to do that just because people do that. We have a speed limit, and that's what it is. And a speed limit, as we've discussed before, that doesn't mean you get to drive that fast the whole way. A speed limit is the limit. Under ideal conditions. It's not the speed you're supposed to go around a blind curve. That's not 15 miles an hour. You might be 3 or 4 miles an hour. Your job is to avoid hitting anything. Is that so hard? But I mean, I don't think we should get soft on the speed limit just because people are like that these days, that they're all in a hurry. They could get their lazy butts out of bed a minute earlier and leave their house a minute earlier. They'd get down the hill just fine at the same time as if they got up a minute later and sped down the hill. It's only, what, 30 seconds they save? Maybe we could use some humor or something about, or do a time test or something to test it, drive nicely, safely up and down the hill, time it, and then pick a time when there's nobody around and gas it and brake, gas and brake, gas and brake. And what do you save, 30 seconds?
That's a cool idea. That's really fun.
It's just ridiculous.
That's a great idea. I mean, I think that, sorry, people, it's not that people think they're going to get down 30 seconds. It's just, they just go crazy, because I've been there. I'm not right now, thank God. But, and I don't mean on this hill, but just in general in life, when you're vibrating so high, you're like, got to get there, got to go, got to go. I mean, it's just, so you're just pushing and you're not thinking I'm going to save 30 seconds on the hill. Having said that, I think your idea is fabulous and I love it, because I think it would remind people to slow down. So if you said to them, hey, you're going to save 30 seconds by going 50 down the hill or whatever. I mean, it'd be so funny, Jean. I think it's a brilliant idea. And that gets back to the sort of the architectural idea, or how do we do some humor in here? My point is just like having something that's positive for people instead of another like negative thing, you know, like how do we make this into a positive thing? That's why I said, let's have a party, or, you know, we have a party coming up. What can we do at the party? Says I'm under 15 or something like that. I drive under 15. I mean, what's a funny
That's a
t-shirt
great
that you have?
idea. Maybe we should
Yeah.
have pledges, little stickers. I pledge under 15 or some.
What would be a funny t-shirt? I think it would be really funny to have a t-shirt that you could wear that says something like, I like to drive slow, or I don't know what, but, or I like a slow driver. I'm not really sure, but there may be something that I think there's some humor and some creativity, and we have, artistry and creativity on this hill. So let's use it. Like the architectural idea. If there were chalk drawings in the road, I mean, people would stop and slow down and say, what's that chalk drawing? You would look.
But like a body, like.
So
Yeah,
I would also
if you had a mannequin, we
caution.
need to get Scooter out here. I have a Scooter cut out. We can put him in the middle of the road like this.
So I would caution people for putting too many impediments in the road, because if people are stopping to look at something,
Yeah.
someone coming up may come up and not
Right.
expect someone to be stopped. Although on our hill, they should expect people to be stopped, because we've got delivery drivers, we have UPS guys, we have FedEx. They stop in the middle of the road.
Yeah, I just think this merits further conversation of a way to be creative in how we address the problem. And there may be Googling it to see what other people have done, but what's something fun? I mean, hey, they'll be doing a story about us. Like, well, they don't have Andy Rooney anymore. 60 Minutes, the little bit at the end. Here's how to people slow down. But this is a problem that other people have all over, and it should be done with something with humor, and it can still be done with sternness. We don't have to eliminate that. 15 minutes is the limit.
So Jean
maybe
is
it's
our
like
resident marketing person on our committee. Jean, I'm wondering how you feel about, grabbing a couple of folks and doing some brainstorming and some creative messaging for how do we get the message across to our community that we need them to slow down.
Sure, that's a great idea. I mean, you don't want to get, as Wynn said, keep it light. Don't get too grumpy about the whole thing. But somehow, I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking, what, you're going to drive that fast and you're going to risk the consequences of killing someone, and you're going to be getting about like a $10 million settlement, and you're going to be ruined financially. Well, can't get into that. That doesn't work on people. I like the idea of the t-shirts.
Yeah, I mean, there could be the top 10 reasons for driving under 15 miles an hour, whatever. Jean, please pick me to be on your brainstorming committee. I'd love to be on it.
For sure.
I really don't want to prolong this, but I'd be happy to put little cutouts of puppies and children and people on the hillside and things like that here on the road at random times and random places.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah,
I love it.
Let's give it a
I
try.
did have one more suggestion, if it's okay.
Sure.
Since they repaved 280,
Mhm.
when you're coming north on 280 and you get off and take the second exit to come up to where we live, I don't know if anyone's noticed, they put these big white arrows. They put dot bots on them, but they just put big white arrows in the middle of the road that are sort of like guide you, like this is where the middle of your car is supposed to go when you go around. They're not just a little stripe. I mean, I don't know if anyone knows what I'm talking about, but I'm wondering if like on the tight curves, maybe they don't need to be quite as big as those.
Would take the whole road up.
The whole road,
White
yeah.
arrows, but like maybe some sort of arrow that is a little big. That was my one thing. And then I just wanted to share one experience, which is after I put that sign up, there was a car that came by when I was checking my mail that was on the other side of the road. And I walked up the hill and just asked the neighbor, I basically just said, I was in a recent near miss accident and like, I'm really scared. And then in explaining it, I started crying. And actually I wasn't intending to start crying, but that actually got a really positive response from like a really concerned neighbor who said, oh, wow, okay, like I will talk to my family about it. And I don't know, it made me wonder. I mean, I don't think I can just like go to everyone's door and make myself start crying, but like it did make me wonder, like, I don't know, what if I just walked up the road and like when people were outside, like what if I just really nicely talk to them? But I don't know, maybe that's a bad idea, but I just had this one experience and then I met a neighbor and it was such a positive, wonderful experience.
I don't
I
think it's
think that's a
ever
great.
a negative to introduce yourself to a neighbor and do, have some communication in a nice way. I mean, this is a neighborhood. We want to know our neighbors. This is what makes living here unique. We want to be able to go to our neighbors and say, hey, there's a problem here. Or, can we work on it? I mean, this is what we strive for. So I would
Yeah.
encourage everybody to do that.
I think that's a great idea. Can I offer another perspective here?
Sure.
Everyone on this call seems to, we're not really inquisitive about the perspective of the people who are driving quickly. I found that the best way to solve any problem is to get into other people's shoes and ask them innocent questions without judgment about their perspective on why they're driving at the speed they are, what they think the safety of the road is, etc. And that might help solve the problem, might help come up with a creative compromise between the two different groups of people who think that there's a problem and think that there isn't a problem. It probably has to be done in an innocent way, like with an open-mindedness, maybe, hey, what should the speed limit of the road be? And if you ask a question like that, what should the speed limit be on Santa Maria or Russell, it would encourage everyone to participate in the conversation and then allow everybody to see everybody else's perspective on the speed of the road. So rather than try to guess it, what might work, I think it'd be helpful to understand other people's perspectives.
So Reed, I think you're hitting on something really interesting. I'm wondering whether at the annual meeting we might actually have some type of, how you go to a work meeting and you're paired up with someone and you don't know who that person is, or you get a number and you find the number and then you start having a dialogue with them. I'm wondering if we could do that with, some of these issues like speed. I mean, how fast or starting a conversation.
Yeah.
This group, this group that we're meeting today is a very unique group. It's people who are concerned and engaged and participate. We have 95 households that a fraction are represented here. So we have most of the people who are not engaged, who aren't participating, and who don't seek to have this dialogue. I'm not sure they even open up our messages. So it's a very
Right.
difficult thing in now to really have some of your messaging come across to your intended audience.
So could we combine something here too with sort of getting people to that party, Teresa? I think that the idea of knocking on neighbors' doors, I mean, politicians have done it for a long time, so it must work, right? That you knock on someone's door, introduce yourself and say, hey, I hope you're going to come to the party. And then, if appropriate, share the story about, I'm not my story, but you could tell the story of how, you were concerned about the road.
When you just said about politicians, you know how we get those signs, some of us, and put them out on our property, who vote for this person or vote for this person, those, you know what I'm talking about with the,
yeah.
What if we just made signs that said something like, I drive safe to protect my neighbors or something, and then whoever wanted to could put it on their lawn, and maybe as people are driving by, they're gonna see all these people who have signs that say I drive safe to protect my neighbors. Or maybe that's stupid, but
there's no, it's not. I think this is the G
No, it's great.
and
That's a good-
brainstorming session, but there's a very racy thing you could say. I mean, we're all adults here, but you could say something like, I like it slow or something like that. I don't know.
So these are great. I don't want to completely terminate this conversation, but we do have an agenda and we do need to move this along just a little bit. And I'm not sure, but we've hit some rather intriguing ideas. And I think I'm going to kind of ask Jean and Wynn and anybody else who's interested in pursuing ideas and ways in which we can help neighbors understand that we are a neighborhood, we are a community, and we want to be safe, and we want to be able to walk our streets safely. And come up with some ideas, and maybe again, maybe there's something we can do at our gathering or party that would have a safety theme.
I like the puppy signs ideas, puppies and other things. I think the signs. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Is anybody have any last minute thoughts on that? Great. Okay, projects in the road right of way. This was a conversation that we had. You probably have an old draft of a policy that we meaning the old Woodside Highlands Improvement Association put together several years ago. I won't say many years ago, it was several years ago. It was an idea of how the issue is, how do we as a community deal with residents who have projects or have construction or who have fences or who have things in the road right of way? And how do we communicate that, and how do we get on board so that as projects are proposed or developed, that we're in on the process, we participate with them, and it's done in a manner that's preserves the road right of way, it's good for the neighbor, and the drainage is preserved, and all things are holy. We never came to an agreement on how to do that, and it's been out there. We do have a kind of an unwritten policy that if people do have projects that are in the road right of way, that they come to this group and that we review them and give them our input and guidelines. The town is the body that would be issuing building permits if building permits are appropriate for the project. And so this really is a beginning of a conversation of how do we grapple with residents who do work, don't come to us, and what do we do about it? And do we need a written policy?
I have a webpage. I have a webpage, woodsidehighlands.net/inventory. It has the minutes of those 2 meetings in 2017 that Teresa just talked about. And it's my beginnings of an inventory of things that I know for a fact are already on the road right away. But for those who came late, we can't do chat anymore, so I can't just send you the link. Woodsidehighlands.net.
Thank you, Annalise. Any thoughts? Jean?
First of all, we have to inform people because we can't really get too mad at them if they haven't been informed. Let's say somebody moved here 2 years ago, has never heard a thing. They don't realize where the road right of way is, maybe that they shouldn't be messing in there. So I think maybe annually or whatever, we send out in the mailboxes, not by email, probably something colorful to make sure everyone's informed that that's the policy, because it is the policy. And there's a good purpose to it, which is to not screw up the drainage mainly, but nobody should be doing work in the road right of way anyway. They either will be doing work through the town and get a permit and have to show with a survey or whatever where they're planning to do something, and the town will say, well, that's in the road right of way and you can't do it. We're not going to tell you yes or no. That's a permit. That if it's in the road right of way is the maintenance district's purview. And so we have a ton, obviously, of legal, let's say legal non-conforming structures that have been there a long time. Like somebody's half of their garage might be in the road from a long time ago, but you don't get to put a garage in the road now. So the only reason to be doing work in the road right of way at all is to, let's say, make a driveway connection. And it's real important that the drainage match what was there before to keep the water flowing. So I don't see that it's probably should be too hard to put a notice out once a year, or maybe every 6 months, people move in, or make sure we make right away, tell somebody who has just moved in, who wouldn't have gotten a previous notice, an annual notice, let's say, give them a notice, just make a policy that we do that as soon as the new person moves in, so they don't start chopping up the road in front of their house thinking it's theirs and then screwing up the drainage and all that. So an annual notice, I don't see that it should be too hard to write something pretty simple. Just say, hey, here's how the road works. The road right away is wider than the paved area. If you plan to do anything, along your frontage or any part of your property that abuts the road, you need to talk to your road maintenance district, that's our local district, to make sure you're not doing something in the road right away that will cause a problem. And then the road maintenance district is who decides what you get to do.
Sure. I want to be a little careful about putting too much emphasis on the road right away, which is this nice legal construct, which has less practical value than addressing where the road is, since the road doesn't
Right.
always necessarily lie in the same space with respect to the right of way.
Right.
So maybe we could just emphasize that if you're doing something alongside the road that may affect drainage, may affect traffic, and then please come talk to the road committee first, because we have had lots of experience in previous projects and perhaps can help yours be a little better and make sure that you don't annoy your neighbors.
Right.
Can we have you write that up?
That's a good segue.
Oh, I'm
That's a good
serious. I think
segue.
that was very well stated. I think that was
Well, I've
terrific.
already forgotten it, but I'll try.
Oh,
It
well,
was on video. You can record it and go
we're
back.
recording it, so we
That's
can
true,
get
we
it
recorded
back.
it. Mhm.
Yeah, I feel like, we moved in, October 28th is our 3-year anniversary. That's kind of exciting. And it would be nice. I mean, I had no expectation of this at all, because I didn't even really know that there was a neighborhood. But it would be nice if when people moved in, we had some kind of a welcome, like a brightly colored piece of paper, to Jean's point, that goes in the mailbox. And I love the idea of doing things in paper as well. I think there's sort of like 1,000 points of light. Like some people would like a website with the content, and I think that's a really good idea, or a web page to have that content, because that would be something that people could definitely look at and refer to. And then also do the welcome. Like, again, I don't know how often we have turnovers here, but if it wasn't too often, it'd be really nice to just say, hey, welcome to the neighborhood, and here's who you got to talk to if you want to talk about things. Here's who can help you.
Some neighborhoods have a welcome wagon where people
Yeah,
come
right.
with cookies and things like that.
Yeah.
No, we could
There
do
is
that,
one.
and also with.
I got
Do we have one?
I got one when I moved in. There's a colorful booklet that tells you about the neighborhood, and it's in a PDF file, and I have a copy. And now that I know you're interested in it, I'll put it on the website so everyone can get access to it.
That's nice.
And
I
at
like
the
It's out of
bottom, it
date.
could say,
It's out
it
of
could
date,
say
but it's
like,
charming.
It is out of date. Marie Bernardi did that. So how long has it
charming.
been since the Bernardis have been here? But Marie did that, and people did get these great pamphlets that had a lot of good information. And I've often thought we really need to reactivate that in some fashion. So I think this is a great way of trying to welcome people to the community as well as refresh.
Yeah, and I think with COVID, it's been so crazy, right? I mean, now we're sort of post COVID, but at least we're open. One of the things I really love is the whiteboard on Santa Maria. I love that whiteboard. It makes me feel like I'm in a neighborhood, like we're all here together, and I get good information from it.
Good.
That's
That
why I
is one
never
of our
buy,
methods.
a new one, because the old one has all this dry erase stuff sort of into the, the surface of texture. And
I think we actually authorized you to go out and buy a new one, Jean.
I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. It would break my heart. This one is so grubby looking. So
Well, the money's
They
there
wanna
if you
up our
want to.
image. I didn't
anytime.
notice the
Yeah,
grunge.
I'll try to find one.
Driving by at 14 miles an hour, I didn't notice the image.
So what I hear people saying is that we really need to have some type of a reminder on a periodic basis for all residents, as well as perhaps reactivate some type of a welcome process for new residents, so that we reinstill what the community is, and how do you get things done, and who do you contact if you've got questions, and things of that nature. And we do have a good start with the pamphlet that Marie Bernardi had written way back in the day, and I think that probably can be updated to more current information.
Yeah, when we got on the hill, that was one question my father had was, when do they have group parties? Because my dad's home is on Cape Cod, and they have an annual party there, and they have minutes. So in the morning they have all the business discussion, and in the afternoon or the evening it's all social. So that's kind of nice.
So we have two
Teresa?
organizations here. One is the Woodside Highlands Improvement Association, which is really what you would call our umbrella organization. That would probably be the organizing body that would do the welcoming and the parties of such. And then the Road Maintenance District is really focused primarily on roads and drainage and overseeing the expenditure of tax monies that help to maintain and upgrade the road and the drainage. So,
Teresa.
yeah.
So
Mike.
there used to be a 1 or 2 pager that talked about the history of Woodside Highlands that went back to the Coons and
Right.
Coonsville, and that was in Maria's package as well, I believe, or it was in a separate package. Very interesting, but that doesn't need to be updated. That's the good part about that.
Right.
I think Annalise gave me that, something I saw a lot of that. That was very cool.
The other thing is on the road. I mean, the road's either 30 or 40 feet wide on the plan, you know, on the what's officially the road. And I would guess that very few of us actually know where our house is and where the road actually is.
Right.
And I don't know anywhere that the road is 40 feet wide.
That would be in our living room if it were, we're on such a narrow sliver here.
Right, exactly. I mean, that's
Literally.
not uncommon, but you know, so, you know, until you have a survey done or until the whole road is surveyed, I mean, I suspect that we'll find almost every property is in some way violating that road right of way. So we also need to be sensitive to that too.
I suspect you're totally right. And unless someone has done a recent survey, we wouldn't know a lot of that. I think it's more of a check before you do something more than anything else, because I think there have been projects done in the past that could have been perhaps designed differently if any of the decision-making bodies were brought on board early on. And
Totally agree.
That's all I'm going to say about that. I mean, we can't go back in history and start changing things. I think we need to be moving forward and informing people of how you operate in this community and what we would hope that you would do. And again, hope for cooperation, because we really don't have we don't have any really legal standing other than, you know.
Actually, a lot of people don't know. You can go to Google Maps and you can see your house, you can see the road right of way, and you can see the road. If you can get that information out into the public, that anytime they go to Google Maps and look up their own property, it shows their property, which they know very well because of the shape of their property. It shows the entire width of the road right of way, and it shows the paved part of the road in the road right of way. So
and I've talked to several county assessors. They say that data is inaccurate.
Well, it may be inaccurate to about 3 or 4 feet, but I have gone through the hill and I found out it's exceedingly accurate. So if anybody just has a curiosity of where the road right of way is, the road's only what, 10 or 20 feet wide, and they want to know where that extra 10 feet are, go to Google Maps and compare it with your own survey. And if you get that information out to the general public, then you're halfway there. You don't have to do your own survey, but you can get survey information for free. I learned when I was doing a project near my house, you have to dial 811 to make sure that you don't dig into a utility. 811 comes out and for free puts the survey markings right on the road.
Oh, cool.
So that is a way to accumulate over time at no cost exactly where the survey information is.
Cool.
Okay, did we get to what we were trying to solve for on this agenda? I'm just trying to be conscious of time here because we are like an hour. in.
Yeah. I think what I'm hearing from people is that the draft policy is not the direction in which we're interested in going, but we do need to remind people on a periodic basis of projects in the road right of way and the drainage situation. And Frank had some great wording, which we're gonna, because he's writing the minutes, perhaps he can draft something up as well.
Actually, Tracy, if I can make something real quick.
Yeah, because we need to move on.
Okay, regardless of where the road is or where it is supposed to be, the more important thing is into where the fire access is going to be, which needs to have a 20-foot clear width up to 17 feet with a 3-foot, shoulder. As long as we have that, and if it's given we have garages, fences, this, that, and the other thing on the road that's been historically there, as long as we maintain our fire access, a clear fire access that the fire authority agrees to, I think is a positive way to address our protection and our assets.
What matters? Yeah, that really touches on what matters. Getting back to why it's important.
Okay, thank you. All right. Wynn, you came to us and said, hey, I have a project I'm thinking of doing. And so we said, great. How about if we just have a quick update on what you're thinking about? I know you're in your early stages, and go from there.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you, everyone. So, I mean, Teresa used the right word. I mean, this is the conceptual stage, and I'm just trying to get ahead of things based upon some good advice I got from some neighbors. So we're on the corner of Russell and Santa Maria, and we already have a very rickety gate that matches the line of the ivy that comes all the way down the road. And so if we were to do something, which I do hope we will, to improve it, as some neighbors have said, hey, your yard looks great, but your gate could use an upgrade. We've talked to several gate companies, and what we would do is do a sliding gate that would slide behind the ivy so you wouldn't see it. We would measure it so it'd be far enough back from the road. There's a 23-foot space approximately that's open. So this would be 16, I think about 16 feet wide. It would be within whatever the fire department requires as well. We did talk to a fire marshal about that. So this is really preliminary and conceptual right now. It would just be to make it look a lot better, provide more security and safety, and be easier, because right now, we're manually opening and closing the gate. It would be nice to be able to click a button and get in and out of the driveway a lot faster. So that's it. I mean, that's at a very high level. I figure I'd give you back some time, but do you have any questions, or do you want any more level of detail at this point? Oh, it would not be very high, and it would be the 50-50. I think that has to be 50% space and 50% structure. So it would be basically a metal gate with attractive wood pieces over it. So it would blend in as much as possible and just be a continuum of the line up the ivy. It would actually be set back a little bit. And I think that's it. And it wouldn't go any higher than the ivy.
And it would be on Russell, the side of Russell.
Yeah, it's on
you're
Russell.
talking about? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we have this huge gap there. We don't have like a normal driveway. Again, it's like 23 feet wide.
Right.
So, we were having trucks coming in and out, and literally they would just use it like, okay, we're just coming in and out. And just, I'm not single because I'm single, but my dad's here with me. But, it would just it feels nice to have a gate up, and we do, but it's a crummy one, but at least it works. But so we like to do something that would look nicer. And we're, any suggestions you have in terms of gate vendors. I mean, I've talked to at least 3, I think 4 gate vendors. Would love to hear input, and anything that we do obviously would be in keeping with PV requirements, and would be in working with you guys on the Hill as well.
And just brief chats with Wynn as I walked by, this gate would actually disappear behind the ivy when it's open, and you wouldn't even know it's there except when it's closed.
Yeah. Thanks, Frank.
I have a question. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sure.
Go ahead.
I was going to ask if there are any questions for Wynn before we move on.
Not specifically for Wynn's case, but in general, is the advisory committee planning on approving new projects that are on the road right of way? Or are you going to explain to people the projects have to be on their property and not on the road right of way? Frank was giving me the impression that the right of way didn't matter. I tend to disagree. So
I don't think we've seen any plans yet, Annalise. I think until we see any plans, we can have a conversation about it then.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
I said, we haven't seen any plans. Have we seen any plans? We haven't seen any plans. Once we see plans, I think then we can have a conversation about where it lies.
Yeah, I think that
No,
makes
no,
sense.
no. I'm not talking about WINS project specifically. I'm talking about
Okay.
in general. Do you plan to authorize people to build on the road right of way? If you're having this chat with them, or are they going to be expected to have everything completely on their property? This isn't WINS particular case, it's for everybody.
The town will probably not issue a permit for anything that's in the right of way.
Right.
Oh, they do. They've told
They
us that they have no
they should not.
jurisdiction whatsoever on the right of way.
That's not correct. They cannot issue you a permit to build on something that's not your land.
But I'm asking about the advisory committee, who's not the
No,
town.
But we wouldn't approve anything that the town has declined.
Well, it might be a short fence that doesn't require town approval.
If it's not that high, it may be less. I think if it's under 4 feet or something, it may not. I'm not certain because it was, one of the vendors I talked to a while ago when I was inquiring about permits. And he said under 4 feet, it might not make a difference. But I mean, in my particular case, we'll wait until we have plans, then we can comment on it. But I think your question is obviously has merit. I mean, obviously, well, I shouldn't speak on your behalf. It seems like there's maybe not an answer at this juncture.
Well, yeah, when fence wouldn't be on the road right away, I don't think, would it?
No.
That's
No,
back
I don't
from
think it
the-
would be.
yeah,
I
so
don't.
it's
I mean,
sort of
I
removed,
tried to
yeah.
measure it back from the center of the road. I don't know yet. In my
Yeah.
particular case, it probably isn't relevant. I hope not.
Right. Probably not.
I think we wait till we see the plans, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, are we good? Okay, Bush on
Thank you.
Leroy. I know, Jean, you had a conversation with Bernadette that was referred from Annalise, so,
Correct.
right.
So, yeah, there was some concern about a bush that was along the edge of Leroy. And so I met with Bernadine.
I'm sorry, Bernadine.
That's
I
okay.
apologize.
My name Bernadine, there's Bernadette. Anyway, so Bernadine and I met up there and we talked about this bush. It was actually looking a little half dead, but it was, I pointed out that it's a buckeye and they appear to die off early in the year, like they drop their leaves now, not in the fall. So that's the name of the bush and it's doing its normal thing. So Bernadine said she would, trim it up and make it, look good and all that. And it's not impinging into the road right of way or anything of that sort, or the road, Leroy there on that narrow part around where this bunch of redwoods, kind of stick out and make that curve there. So the conclusion was that there was nothing more to be said with the road people.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for following up on that. Okay, project schedules, reports, paving subcommittee. Matt, we're still in holding, aren't we? Okay,
Yep, no change.
all right. I have not heard back from Cal Water on Leroy, so we're still assuming that they're going to be doing the project sometime late September.
They've had men up here checking it out, laying out the lines on Leroy. So they've been up here in the last couple of days.
Okay, but I don't have timing yet. They haven't said anything to me about when they're starting. So
No, this is just their front people coming through,
Yeah.
checking it out.
yeah. Okay, good to know.
Are there survey markers on the road yet?
For Leroy? You mean for the
Well,
water
anytime
company?
the water department comes through, they put survey markers on the road. So if we can capture that information, then we have it for free.
I don't know. I don't know what they're,
know if
all
it's
I know is that they're replacing the water main. I don't know that they're doing major surveying or anything. Tim, have you noticed anything?
No, but they're due to start in the end of August was their
Right.
original schedule. So
Right. Well, I've written a note to Lee Blevins, who's our main contact, and asking him for a schedule. So hopefully we'll get something from them soon. Okay, drain subcommittee, repair of drain near 144 Santa Maria. I have an update on that. Thank you very much, everybody. You were asked to vote on the expenditure of funds to put a pipe around the disintegrating old pipe and then lay some cement and dirt over the collapsed pipe. Thank you for authorizing. You authorized $400. The project actually came in under at $200. So it's now done, and
Nice.
you would never know it was done. But now we don't have to worry about backing up into a broken pipe. So thank you.
Great.
And then the open drain box below 31 Santa Maria. Mike, do you have any update on that one?
Dude, I thought we'd pawn that one off on Bruce too.
I think we did, but I haven't looked at it recently to see if it was done.
It's all done.
Oh, it's done.
Bruce,
Be done.
Bruce
Yeah.
invoiced us. He invoiced us.
Oh, good. So then it's done.
Yeah.
Notice.
Good.
Looks good. Looks
Very good then. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Mike. Financial statement fiscal year 22-23. Matt, you want to just mention?
We submitted it before the July meeting with the town council, and my understanding is the town council approved it. So
We did.
we're good to go.
Good job. Great. Any questions on the budget? Great. Projects from prior meeting follow through. Erosion of town lots between Woodside, Highlands, and Wayside. I mean, Craig, I think that was a kind of a group effort, and we just kind of put it aside, just waiting for some feedback. Is there anything we need to know, or?
Mike, were you going to be, I vaguely recall you were going to be talking with Howard or something about that.
Yeah, I never heard back from anybody. I kind of just.
Well, yeah, why don't you try reaching out to Howard again?
Okay.
Because he may have been busy with something else, or I don't know. But try Howard, and I'm sure he'll get back to you.
I'll be a squeakier wheel.
Yeah, exactly. If he doesn't, let me know.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, thanks. TBD, right? Number 10, Russell retaining wall. Reed, that's you, isn't it?
No, it's Smoot.
Oh, it's Smoot. Oh, you're
Yeah.
right. It's Smoot.
He's got a softball game tonight too, so he won't be here.
Okay, well, we'll just defer it. Let's defer it till we hear from him.
Yeah, I'll connect with him.
Okay, damage of the mirror pole grate on Santa Maria and Lower Russell. Lewis and Tibbetts authorized us to be reimbursed $494.09. I think they think the project is done. My impression is that there is still a hole in the asphalt with the broken pole sitting there.
So they paid us and we got to fix it.
So they paid us, and I don't think it's their intent to come back to fix it. So I think we need some asphalt in the hole.
We got any volunteers who know how to work asphalt?
I mean, it's a very tiny, tiny little thing.
You can dump some of that same cement reinforced asphalt in there that we've used to repair the road elsewhere.
Yeah, I was going to ask if York might still have some left. Then we get this.
I've got some actually.
Oh, okay.
If it still survived, it tends to
Solidify.
pull the air, pull the water out of the air and solidify.
Yeah.
Could we maybe look at it and see if we can pop some of that in the hole? So at least we level it off. I mean, it's a tiny little thing. It's only like a 2x2 by maybe 3 inches.
It's just a quart of stuff or something like that.
Yeah. It'd be nice if we could just go and, pour something down and have it harden.
Yeah, well, that's more or less what you do.
Yeah.
I want to dig some of the old wood out first.
Okay. Frank, it sounds like you and Mike are kind of on board to look
You volunteer, Mike?
Nice. Yes.
Huckleberry.
You can't own a tractor and not be volunteered for these kind of things.
We'll hold it.
A quart of asphalt.
You guys are great. You
That's the
guys
main
are
reason
wonderful.
I've never bought a tractor.
Gary's fantasy. We don't have a big enough lot. I mean, he wants to get one of these big motors that, power mowers that you sit on. We don't even have any grass anymore.
You come over and play anytime, Craig. You're welcome to come over. We'll fix
Frank will
the erosion.
volunteer to lead the project.
Thank you, Frank. Where are we on rakes? We were going to purchase a couple.
Yeah, I was
put 'em around.
at Ace today too, and I forgot about it.
Okay, well, next time.
Next time, I'll definitely get it within the next couple weeks here.
Okay, cool. very good. And installment and purchase of butt dots. Frank, they're in, they're down. I've heard nothing.
Yeah, well, Tim and I put them in. We could probably use a few more at the ends of that corner, but the real question is whether people want more of them or not. We've haven't had any complaints about them, but we also haven't had anybody say this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, and please put some more in. So I'm not sure where we sit.
I think they're kind of fun. I've realized the only thing I can't get up around that corner without hitting them is my truck pulling the trailer.
Yeah.
My long,
I think they're great.
truck makes that turn, so it's pretty interesting.
Well, I intentionally drove over them a few times, and they really don't make much of a racket, so I'm not sure they're how effective they are.
You notice them though. But
Yeah, you know.
We were driving, oh, sorry, go ahead, Jean, were you gonna say
Oh,
something?
I was going to say, I had a concern. I can hear people driving over the dots on Portola Road, every dot, I swear. So I was concerned about these. If we had them at every curve, you know, they would drive people crazy. But I can testify that I have heard no noise, and my neighbor next door, the Acres and Burka, they're right over that curve, and she said they haven't heard, the noise is not a problem.
Yeah, these are a lot smaller than the ones out in Portola Road.
Sure.
Do you think it's worth trying some around the Russell Tynan curve?
Let's do it.
I'd be in favor of
Good
it. I mean, they
start.
weren't that expensive, right, Frank? I mean, how much?
No, it's really cheap.
Yeah.
Do it. It'd help. You know.
Does anybody want to make a recommendation to purchase some additional bots for the Tynan Russell curve? And then, Frank, if you need additional bots to go elsewhere, how
Well,
many do you want?
We want to put them on all the curves. We're going to need some more, but we have enough to do the Russell curve.
Okay.
I so move that we do that.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. What do we? Well, it sounds like you don't need any money right now. Is that right, Frank? You just
Right.
need authorization to do it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Anybody opposed? I have an apology to Alana. I'm sorry, I missed the spring cleanup and replacement of mailbox and post and moving the dumpster, which of course was the main item that I'm sure you were most interested in. But I think we do have some news for you. Mike?
Yes. Steve Tobin was kind enough to volunteer his little gravel pad out there in front of his house, as long as we give him ample notice, which, you know, I figured we could just send him a notification as soon as the dates are set.
Right.
That's nice.
Pretty sure it's going to fit there. A little worried about that, but yeah, he just wants, you know, ample notice, but he offered to have that be the new home for the lower debris box. So that should move the allergens further down the hill.
So what
Where does he live?
I'm wondering if we should contact Bruce for him to have a conversation with the debris box people to be sure that they can bring that box over there. I don't see any reason why, but maybe there's some structural thing that we don't know anything about that they would look at it and say, oh my goodness, well, we can't do this for X, Y, or Z reason.
Yeah, I think I'll look up the dimensions of the box. I think the length of it's the only issue that, you know, be an actual problem. They could just pull up the road, drop it off. Their only issue is they're gonna have to go all the way up and turn around to come back down.
Yeah, I was going to say how are they going to turn around?
That's their problem. But
Maybe they could back it in and then pull it out.
yeah, I think, yeah.
They can turn around at my curve. They do it all the time.
They
Sure.
do. Okay.
If you need another spot, we might have space for it too, at for Russell. It's a pretty big,
That big
Right.
40-yard, that's a big box.
is it? Okay, well, never
I
mind.
don't
then.
think you want it.
I think it's too crowded there when the Russell is very narrow around
Oh,
there.
good point, getting around
And
there,
we
yeah.
probably don't want to take up road space.
How lovely
No, I
of
was
Steve
thinking in
Tobin. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mike, for bringing this to the Tobin family, I guess, and thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Steve. And then Alana, we have not heard back from you on your mailbox project. Are you planning on buying a mailbox or what's
Yes, I
going
guess
on?
so. I think at the June, was it June 8th, I believe, our last meeting in early June.
Mhm.
Yes, I don't, if we could reseat the post and I mean, prior to putting on, the new mailbox, I believe Frank was speaking to that, but it was
We were going
really
to put a
just
new post in and put the new mailbox on
submitted.
top of the
Exactly.
post. So
Yes.
I thought we were waiting for the mailbox before we put the post in. Maybe I misunderstood.
Actually, the post is in fine shape. I think if we just reseat it, it'll be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, it may just need to be received.
So do you need the new mailbox to reseat it, or do you want to reseat it and then get the new mailbox?
Yeah, I'm not sure of the order of things.
Well, that's why we're having a conversation.
Yeah. I this is so far from my domain of expertise. I'll be honest. I hardly know. I mean, this would be my first time ever, trying to reseat a mailbox and all of this. So please, you tell me.
Yeah, they're really independent as long as you are willing to use the same mount for the new mailbox.
I see. Okay. Yes. I assumed that it was the mount first and then the mailbox next. So if that is the case, just I guess I'll get in touch with you, Frank.
Sure.
Okay.
Great. Perfect. All
Thank you
right.
so much.
Wonderful. Is there any other old business, new business, things we haven't had a conversation about? So just to regroup, we did distribute through the Woodside Highlands distribution list the issue of the, I'm getting it here to get the right wording, the emergency,
Yes.
I'm blanking on the name of the report. But anyway, the report that was developed by the consultant talking about
The evacuation?
evacuation, right? And I know that there was some expectation that we were going to have some conversation about that report, but instead, because it's not on our agenda tonight, what we are going to do is we're going to have two members of this group with the Woodside Highlands Road Improvement Association, and any resident that wants to join us to develop a response back to the town on the evacuation report. And that's going to be headed up by Matt. And I know Reed had said that, Reed, you're going to participate, and I said I would do so as well. And so Matt, I suspect that you'll send out a note to the membership somewhere along the way, soliciting input.
I'll start pestering people, as I said earlier.
Good. Good. Is there anything else? I see.
A lot of looks like she's trying to speak.
Teresa.
Yeah.
I saw Kim Doe on the call for a while, and he may have been waiting for that topic.
Yes.
I had worked with him in the small subcommittee
Right.
on the evacuation plan.
Right.
So Matt, if you're looking for somebody to pester, he's probably was waiting so long and may be interested in being a part of the review.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Right.
I'll send him a note.
Exactly. And I see someone from the Ionides family. I don't know if it's James or Mary, but hello. Nice to have you here. Is there anything that you were hoping to discuss with this group?
No, hi, this is James. Just
James.
joining, just dropping in to catch the tail end of the meeting. So nothing in particular.
Well, welcome. You're welcome
Thanks.
anytime.
Appreciate it.
Anytime. Anybody else? Great. Well, have a very nice rest of your evening. Excuse me. What we should do is we should set our next meeting date, and then we'll be able to get that on the calendar of the town so that we are sure that we get all of our links and all of our everything in place. So does anybody have some suggestion as to when we should meet next?
Do we normally meet before the party that we were scheduling for September 11th? I don't think we need to.
The party
business we need to.
I don't know that it's necessary. I mean, if you think that's important, but no, at the party that we're having on the 11th, it will be the annual meeting of the Woodside Highlands Improvement Association. So we will be having elections for that board. And I think we had some really good conversation about speeding and stuff, and maybe we can have some exercise or something, a good conversation about that at that group. So I don't know that this group has anything pressing that we need to bring to that picnic, but certainly, you know, if you want to suggest something, we could.
Let's see.
I mean, our next biggest thing is going to be, you know, paving, and when that's going to be predicated by when Cal Water finishes their Leroy project.
Have we also nailed down the dates for the fall cleanup?
No, and that's something we should do.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. We should do that now. Do you have some suggestions? Anybody have any suggestions?
What time, what date last year, Teresa, do you have that?
Oh,
For the fall cleanup?
Somewhere.
You know, just on the top of your head.
Oh, yeah, let me just pull that out. I want to say September 28th and 29th, but I don't know why I'm saying that because I could be completely wrong. So let's just wait in just a second and see.
Seems like a couple of times we have timed it so that we, instead of getting the leaves, you know, out of there before the first big rain, we always wait till a week after the first rain when the leaves all got.
Oh, maybe
It was October 23rd and 24th.
Yeah.
it was
How about a
October.
couple weeks earlier than last time?
Well, the first rain has become very unreliable lately.
That's true.
so it's gonna be hard.
Yeah, based on yesterday.
Shall we check on the weather, long-term weather report?
Farmer's Almanac.
So if the picnic is on the September 11th, how about a couple weeks after that? So people can be recruited and reminded.
Sure.
A good idea.
It's a great idea.
Sure.
So we just need to avoid, you know, we have Jewish holidays that come into play on the 25th of September. So I think that wipes out the end of September. We could do it the first weekend in October, October 1st and 2nd, or October 8th and 9th.
We the 8th and 9th.
Okay. Anybody know anything about schools, whether those are critical, you know, times for school calendars?
I don't believe so. I can look it up real quick.
Okay. We have a Woodside Highlands chipper coming in on Monday the 3rd.
I see that the town calendar says October 8th, there's a hazardous waste collection day. So that actually pairs pretty nicely.
Yeah, we've done that. We've had cleanup and town cleanup at the same day.
But that means if people have stuff that they want to take down, you know, hazardous waste stuff, they can do it the same day.
Yeah. So does it make sense to do the chipper before and then do the cleanup after,
Yeah.
Or the other way around.
or the other way around?
I mean, the chipper, you can,
Or we could actually wait another week, and then we're getting into a little rainy, but it's October 15th and 16th. And then not collide. The problem with doing it on the town cleanup day is that people who have to come down the hill, we've got other people, you know, out in the roadway,
Yeah.
and it's not ideal having everybody doing everything at the same time. I would actually propose that we do it then October 15th and 16th.
That's clear on both the town and the school district calendars.
Okay.
Yep.
Good.
I agree.
Okay, fall cleanup. So we can tell Steve Tobin those dates. I'll be happy to tell him that. Because the dumpster will be delivered probably either the 13th or the 14th.
you'll communicate that.
I will.
Oh, great. Thank you.
I will. And I will also communicate with Bruce about the tactics of getting into that site.
Good. Okay.
And then just we're looking at when do we want to have a next meeting? Do we want to do it before the fall cleanup?
Well, to what Mike was saying, we could do it a couple weeks after the September 11th. Maybe we do October 4th, the Tuesday.
We probably should not do it then. That's Yom Kippur.
Oh, okay.
We could do it on the 6th. That's a Thursday. I don't know how people feel about the.
It's fine by me.
Anybody care? October 6th?
Sure.
Okay. So that's our next meeting. I'll get that out to Melissa, the town
Same
clerk.
time.
Oh, time. People, do you like 6:30? Do you like 7? It's gonna get darker earlier.
Like 6:30.
You like 6:30?
Yeah, it works.
All right. 6:30. It's a plan. Okay, so we have October 6th for our RAC, October 15th and 16th. We've got fall cleanup. We've got the fire department's chipper program on October
3rd.
3rd, exactly, and we've got our picnic on the 11th, September 11th. Anything else?
Good.
Well, I thank you very much, everybody. 8:11.
Thank
Our
you.
meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
Thanks, Lisa.
Appreciate it.
And everyone.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Teresa.
folks.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night,
Night.
all.
Everybody.
Good night. Thank
Hey,
you.
John Boy.
Thank you.